Arjun Erigaisi and Pragnananda, although very good friends, had to face each other in the quarterfinals of the FIDE World Cup. And on game one, which was today, there is a quote by I.M. Silman about tournament chess. You think you're going smoothly sailing down a river, everything is great, and then suddenly all hell breaks loose. So it's an example of how things can change when you least expect it in tournament chess. So in this game, it looks like everything is going smoothly. The game is fairly even, and then out of the blue, a piece sacrificed by Arjun, a very unusual piece sack that too. And then to follow it up, he did a king walk, reminding us of the Nigel Short king walk. So let us go through this exciting game which Prag and Arjun played. Knight f3. Prag chooses the ready. d5, g3, g6, and bishop g2. So now it's a king's Indian attack sort of setup. Bishop g7, d4, knight f6, and castles. Castles and c4. So that pawn, even if you take, you'll have to give it back. So Arjun just defends it. Queen a4, defending the pawn. So now this was a threat because then if you attack it, b5 will come and pawn won't be given back. So Queen a4 defending it. And here Arjun plays a nice move, knight d7, threatening knight b6 and taking the pawn. So Queen b3, stepping out of that threat. And now a5, takes a4. Queen goes back, takes. Still fairly even. Knight c3, knight d6, and bishop f4. Knight c6, rook c1, rook a5. Nice rook lift. b3, takes. So the point of rook a5 is to control b5 and to prepare queen a8 or the other rook to come to the rank, the a file. So bishop g4, knight e5. Bishop goes back, queen d2, and queen a8. So black is all ready to jump in with this rook, but first he needs to play knight a2 to exchange of this knight. Pawn e3 and rook c8. Knight d3, controlling b4, bishop f5, and can we jump to c5? That's what the idea was about. Basically, Prag wanted to play knight c5. That'll be a very nice square for the knight, right? But unfortunately, if he does that, there is a big problem. Can we find out what happens if Prag plays knight c5? There's a winning move for Arjun, and that is e5, undermining the pawn. You can't take it with the pawn because then the knight falls. See the nice rook over here. And if you can't take the pawn, how do you defend your bishop? How do you move the bishop? If you go here, you'll get trapped. Bishop is just going to get trapped. And if you take it, bishop takes. And if you take back, rook takes. So a very nice way to deal with the threat there by Arjun, the threat of knight c5. And now h3, preparing g4 and making space for the king. Now Arjun takes the knight, queen takes, and pawn e6. Rook d1, bishop f8. He is over controlling the b4 square, where the knight will jump to. Prag also does the same thing. He also wants his knight to go to b5. He can go there now itself, but he's again controlling it more. The bishop is useful on this diagonal. And now knight b4, finally. Queen comes back to e2. And the queen keeps an eye on b5, so that if knight a2 takes, the queen can go there, attacking the knight and active square, right? Of course, knight is controlling it there, but still. Rook a3. The Arjun doesn't go for knight a2 immediately. Rook a3 attacking the pawn, queen b2, defending it, and now knight a2. Takes, and rook takes rook. Knight takes back. Of course, queen can't take because then the rook would hang. And if you take here, rook will take there. So, rook knight takes, queen c3, knight e7, and pawn b4. If you look at this position, would you prefer white or black? What do you guys prefer here? You can see that the bishop, queen, this bishop all are great for white, but black has the nice a file control. He has already invaded. So it seems even. I would prefer white because the queen can get in. Rook c1 looks nice. So Arjun plays knight f5 and now rook c1. Bishop to d6, bishop e5, asking him to exchange. Arjun exchanges, pawn takes. So there are very few pieces left on the board. One minor piece and two major pieces. That's it. So how can this game involve a sacrifice? You might be thinking that, but just see what happens. It's unbelievable what Arjun is going to do next. Pawn b5. So basically, Prag is going to push the pawn as far as possible. Right now, it's defended by the bishop, so it's a safe place to be. And here Arjun plays queen d8, queen b4, and Arjun goes d4. This is where things start to happen. Basically, Arjun is allowing e4. Where will the knight go? Wherever the knight goes, queen d6 is coming, right? So why? What is Arjun's plan? Arjun's plan is after e4, he doesn't want to go back with the knight. He sacrifices on g3. What's the point? There's a bishop defending the king. Black's queen is out of play somewhat. Rook is good. But there's just no piece left. There's only a queen and a rook. How can this be sound? Arjun shows the way. And see the move he plays next. He plays d3. That's his point. Queen b6 is the threat. He's making a calm pawn move to open up the diagonal for the queen. Not even a check. Following up the sack with the pawn move. But this pawn also becomes pretty dangerous. That's why the sack is possible. Now, here, Prag, so the computer is at dead even right now. So I'll show you why the engine says it's totally even. Prag plays bishop g2. And now Arjun is winning. So the correct move was king h1, which is so difficult to play. Stepping out of the way of the queen check. The problem for black is the queen cannot overcome it. Because if without check, if the queen comes, remember this guy, he's alone there, rook c8. And now white wins. Right? So you can't move the queen without a check. So you'll have to probably play rook f2. And now white will play queen d6. But then black will play queen g5, attacking g5, g6, g3. You can't passively defend this. So white can go in, but then it will be a perpetual. Rook takes, king moves. There's a mate coming over there. So just rook f2. You got to go for the draw. King takes and queen d2. This is a draw. If king goes up, queen e2 will come. That's also a draw. Oh, king f3 is not that easy. Queen e2 is also draw. King goes to f4, queen d2. The king can't survive there. King g4, queen e2, and you'll have to repeat. So that is the draw that the engine is making here. Basically, play king h1, step out of the queen check. This is what the computer says. But imagine being Prag. Out of nowhere, the sack appears, and suddenly you see problems everywhere, right? So Prag played bishop g2, kind of giving support to his king so that the king can hide. But now Arjun plays queen check, and after king moves, he goes queen f2. So Prag has to go for passive defense now. He goes rook g1. But how to win this? You forced your opponent into passive defense, but it's still a piece down, right? So what is the way to convert? Arjun goes rook e2. First, stepping the rook out of the line of the pawn so that the pawn can push without the rook getting blocked. And also threatening things like rook e1 after d2. So now Prag is in panic mode. He can't do anything. He goes queen e7. Now pawn push. Rook e1 is coming. What to do? Prag plays queen f6, takes. So he has somewhat managed things, right? The pawn can't promote that easily. If you play a rook e1, bishop f3 is there, right? Giving back the piece somewhat. So if you play, okay, this is not really a threat right now, but yeah, Prag plays rook check. Now king e5. The game is not over yet. See Arjun's brilliance here. After king g1, white is getting closer to the pawn and preparing rook d1. King d4. The king is walking down. I know it's an endgame, but this is not a situation where usually the king gets in. Right? White has pieces, but they're all stuck together. And now bishop f3, attacking the rook. And guess what Arjun plays here? King e3. Another sack. Bishop takes, king takes, and the pawn promotes. You can't do nothing about it. So bishop taking is rook check, king just steps back. And then if king steps to d3. And if you go back, king c2. That's kind of what happened. So Prag didn't take. He played bishop g4. But now h5. Arjun is asking Prag to take the rook. And Prag has to take the rook. There's no other move for the bishop. Bishop takes, rook check, king d3. Rook comes back, king c2. And here there's nothing to do. Rook moves, king c1. So the king alone is fighting against rook along with the pawn. And there's no way to defend. So rook takes f7 and now promotes. But then rook f1. So Prag gets back the queen. But now e5. The pawn and game is also winning for Arjun. b6. The rook and queen are at the standoff. Whichever side wants can take it. Queen takes, and here Prag resigned. So the pawn endgame is also a very nice position to calculate. So try calculating it, guys. After king takes, how will Arjun win this? And why is it winning? It's 4 pawns each. Both kings are kind of at the same what do you say position. So where is the advantage for black? The point is, after king d2, king f2, white has the opposition. But let's say black plays some g5, normal move, and then white plays king f3, king d3, and now white plays g4, h4. So white will have to move the king. Black keeps the opposition. And when king moves, now king d4 and the pawn falls. Can white stay without giving the opposition? Like king f3, king d3. So basically here after king f2, king d2, black gets the opposition back from white, lateral opposition. King f3 and king d3 keeps the opposition. And now g4, don't take. Then you never know what happens. King takes and white will win probably. So h4, yeah, I guess white will win. So h4, keeping the opposition with black. And when king f2, the opposition wins the game, king d4. And if you come back, you just go king c5. And you win that pawn. White will have hard time coming here to pick up the pawns. And you win. So what a brilliant game by Arjun. Out of nowhere, the sack comes and totally dismantles Prag with that king walk and the endgame. Beautiful game by Arjun Erigaisi.